being joined by a very special guest, a very esteemed guest on the broadcast, Ratika van Noord Bhatnagar, who heads strategy, sustainability, and communications at Pilcrow Communications. We are here to talk about a very special topic, very interesting topic with Ratika, which is making children earth conscious and environment friendly living. Thank you so much, Ratika, for joining us here on the broadcast on this very special occasion.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you, Kitty.
So Ratika, it's a very sincere and very interesting topic to talk about. I've been looking forward to this conversation actually. Everybody's talking about climate change, sustainability, but little do we know how these changes in our environment are actually impacting our children. Well, you've done extensive study in this area. What do you think, in your understanding, what are our concerns or challenges that our children face today?
So, I think our children are learning a lot about environment and sustainability in school, which I think is great. But what happens is that a lot of it gets left behind in school. And the reason that is very, very important for them is because all the things that we have done today, the reasons for environment change, are things that are going to impact their future. So this future generation is the one that's going to really be impacted by all of our activities. It is very important for them.
So as I said that you've done extensive research also, you've studied about this for the last few years also. We've seen, as I was going through your bio also, you took a sabbatical, you wrote a book also. I'll come to that part. I'll talk about your book also. That's also something I'm very intrigued about. But before that, tell us about your journey. What have you been doing so far, and what do you plan to do in the future?
So I have an experiential marketing company called Pilcrow Communications. We, together with my co-founder, Rohini Mathur, who was a colleague of mine in my previous organization, we started Pilcrow with a core value of purpose. We wanted to create experiences that would bring about positive behavior change, which is why we chose the color purple as our logo color, which is the color of purpose. In keeping with that, our first intellectual property event that we created was Kids Culinary, which was around creating fun for children around food. So improving their eating habits without making it very preachy. So children would come there, experience food in a really fun way, and so their mindset, their recall of bengal, for example, or brinjal, for example, was not that my mother was stuffing it down my throat as bengal ka bharta, but more like, oh, I dipped a brinjal in purple color and I put it on a canvas because I'm eating colors on my plate. So it just became more fun. We just created fun around food, like MasterChef style classes, food tours. So it's really with experience or getting children to interact with food in a fun way that we got them to create positive behavior in their eating habits. But also it gave them insights into waste segregation, because a lot of our waste that we have today is from food packaging, also waste in food. So we brought out, through again these fun interactions, we brought out some very relevant concerns like hygiene, segregation, waste, so all of that.
All right, that's really wonderful to hear. And now coming to this part, the question that I want to ask you about your book. I've read little about it, but I really want to go through it. I really want to read your book because, as I said, I've been really intrigued about the title of the book as well, and I'm sure the content is going to be amazing as well. Planet B, Mitra, is the name of the book. Tell us more about it. The book is also made with recycled material, I know, I believe.
Yes. So that was one of the reasons that it took so long to bring out in print, is because I was very adamant, since the topic of the book is it's based in a dystopian future world where there's no life left, right? Where there's no resources. So it couldn't really be on virgin paper. And trying to find the right kind of recycled paper in India was a big challenge. My printer, Vitomat International, this lady, lovely lady, Pooja Rajpal, she really worked very hard with me throughout and researched and found this beautiful. So the book has to look beautiful as well. I didn't want it to look like, it's talking about recycle, so it's like, shabby.
Yes.
We had to change the image of recycling.
And it's interesting for the children also to look at the cover of the book, and they should actually feel interested about reading the book. Could you also show us that? I believe you have a copy also with you. Okay, that, yeah, nobody can actually say if it is made from recycled waste material or not.
Disclaimer, the cover unfortunately is not the recycled paper, which I'm trying to still change.
Yeah.
But all these inside pages are, this is
Yes.
100% post-consumer waste recycled fiber.
Okay. That's really wonderful to know. But tell us about the book now. What is Planet B actually? As I was talking about before the start of this conversation, also that I'm also interested in watching a lot of sci-fi movies, and you've also just mentioned that this is about a dystopian world. What is it in the book?
So the reason, first of all, why I call it Planet B is because everybody talks about the slogan, there is no Planet B.
Yes.
And even though we say there is no Planet B, we need to look after our Earth, we don't seem to do it. We act as though there is an alternate planet available to us, so we can just trash this one as much as we want.
Yes.
And we've seen in the news that there are constant explorations in space looking for another planet that we could all move to. And there's a lot being spent on space exploration. So if plan A is to look for another planet, and should that plan fail, what is our plan B? Keeping that in mind, I said, there is no plan B. We need to look after the one planet that we do have, which is why I call it Planet B. I'm making a Mitra Naam. I'm not going to give you too much of it, because you have to read and see what is Mitra and why, what it's all about. But it is it's an adventure. The sci-fi part of it is that it is fantasy, it is an adventure, it is based in a future world. It's a dystopian future world because in our future, there's so much waste that we've produced that it has killed all the natural environment and which cannot sustain life anymore. So how are the people in the future living their lives? That's what it's all about. Planet B is a wasteland. It's divided into 7 cities. Each of these 7 cities processes a different type of waste to create new material. So that's what the book is based on. The setting of it is a dystopian future world with no natural resources left. And the 7 cities use the waste material that we've left so much of right now to process and create new material.
Are you getting a good response for this book? I mean, I do believe that it's not a very heavy book actually.
It's not.
Yes. So are you getting a good response? And you've chosen waste as a topic for a children's book. Why have you done that? Also tell us about that.
So the response, first of all, has been really good.
Yes.
The most important people is the people targeted to, the children. Yes. Around age group, I think 9, 10, 11 is the perfect age group for reading. I have had 14 years old reading it to give me feedback, and they've really enjoyed it, thank goodness. So they've enjoyed it.
I'm a kid at heart too. I would also love to read it actually. I am very interested in these kind of topics.
No, but the reason I'm saying I'm really happy about the response is because normally it's like science fiction, and children today are so exposed to science fiction in the way of Marvel and comics and all of that, which is very exciting, and also the book's all about magic and mystery, and it's really exciting stuff. Whereas the main key hidden topic of my book is waste, which is not a very exciting topic. So having that as a baseline or as a key message, I had to dress it up in a really fun adventure to still make it interesting and have the message not being preachy and not being like, I have to learn about this, but it's something that comes as delivered through the story. So they really get to know about it through the story, because the world they're living in is that kind of a world, and they have to learn to deal in that world. So that's the adventure the children are on.
Do you think this is going to inspire children? I mean, the topic, of course, could be a little boring, but you've actually packaged it in a very interesting format. Do you think it definitely could help inspiring children? And the ones who've also read this book, you've been saying you've been getting a good response for the book as well. So do you think it's going to bring about a change in the coming future?
I really hope that it inspires children to make a change, and and not just them, because this age group of children influence their parents. So even though they learn about environment and sustainability in school, I feel it gets left behind. They don't bring it home. But through this book, I hope that the story inspires them to also bring it to their homes and get their parents to make the changes that are needed. So through the book, I have, like, it's based over 3 days. And at the end of each day, there's a letter that is there and a little activity.
Okay.
So that is really to get them to repeat what they may not have learned it because they just kind of read through it in the story. But here's an activity that really makes them think about these things. Yes. So I'm hoping that through the activity, through the story, that they are influenced to bring about that change in their homes as well and with their parents.
Yes, and every change, in the society it actually begins from home, as they say.
You can't really preach to people to talk about change. It has to come from within. And we are inspired by stories. We are influenced by stories, by the movies that we watch, by the books that we read. So I hope that my book inspires children and influences them towards creating change in their homes and in their lives. I want them to identify with the characters. I want them to realize that they are not alone. Together, we can do so much. We can impact huge changes when we come together. Like the straw. Today, everybody knows about not using plastic straws. It's all started with one video going viral and 8 million people saying, we don't want to use a straw. So each one of us can impact change, and I would like them to believe that.
We do hope that happens soon. Ratika, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the broadcaster and very interesting conversation that I've had with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.